Hey, everybody. I am so excited for this episode of the Bold Creatives Collective podcast. As usual, my name is still TJ, and I'm still here to hang out with you. I'm so excited today to hang out with someone I'm just meeting for the very first time, Joshua Pasquale. And I have been looking forward to this for the past several weeks since we first kind of
Threads.
connected with one
Yeah,
another
Threads.
on Thread. Yeah, this
Yeah,
is a
of all the
Threads connection.
platforms. It's hot right now.
I know. I was on Threads like probably like the first couple days that they
Oh,
released
me
it. And I
too.
was like, what the fuck is this thing?
Yeah.
This is nothing. Like, I don't need another social platform in my life because I'm just getting old and I don't need to learn
Yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah.
so I closed it, and then I don't know, like end of September, October, I opened it back up again, and it was
And it
like,
was just connecting me with so many, like
yeah,
you, so many artists. And because
yeah.
that's when it's the early stages of social media, that's when the algorithm is hot.
Hot. It was
Yeah.
awesome. I was like, man, the artists and creatives,
Yeah.
entrepreneurs have like taken over this thing, and I'm like, I got to get in here and meet some people before the bots
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Meta like decide that, okay, it's time to monetize this thing and
Exactly.
actually have
Exactly.
to start using it.
You know.
So yeah, we're a Threads connection, everybody. If you're not on Threads, and this is not, I guess it's turning into a meta promotion, but whatever. If you're not on Threads and you're an artist, or a creative of any type, I really encourage you to go over there and create a profile. It's linked to your Instagram, super easy, and start posting, because there's tons of great connections that are coming out of that right now, and it's still a cool
It's better
platform.
than X right now. So
Let's just
see
get
where
that
that
out of the
goes.
way, right? It is better
Yeah.
than X. So Joshua, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you're about, and then we'll just hop into this conversation. I'm really excited to talk about some marketing stuff.
Sure, definitely. So my background in fashion is very unconventional, which makes sense because I love unconventional fashion. I do not have a lot of technical fashion experience. I didn't go to fashion school. I was just this kid in Calgary, Canada, who read nothing but French and British Vogue magazines and loved to dress up and just make fashion and watch McQueen late at night and be like,
Nice.
oh, one day. I don't know how and I don't know when, but I'll get there.
But I'm gonna show up.
And
Yeah.
I just kept making fashion while I was working at these marketing corporate jobs, to pay the bills and
Yeah.
to eat.
Yeah.
Because, especially in Canada, we're not a fashion capital. We're not known for our fashion. We have really talented people here,
Right.
but it's very different from the fashion capitals. So I just thought to myself, well, I don't have any technical experience. Let me go into marketing. So I was doing social media marketing, paid ad strategy, just working with small businesses, and then moving into corporate while always doing fashion on the side.
Right.
But it just so happened that passion solidified into an actual gaggy moment
Okay.
twice this year. The first one was getting invited to London Fashion Week because I was over there with work,
Right.
and
Okay.
my friend called me and he's like, "I used to live in London, kid. You gotta go. Like, call me when you're a famous designer. You have one life. Just dress up and go." And I've always loved London fashion in particular, like the works of Galliano, McQueen,
Yeah.
Westwood, Richard Quinn. Right now, there's a punkness but still a glamour to
Yeah.
London that I just really connect with. And I have never been more celebrated in my life. I went to 5 shows. One of them was the Montclair show, and like
Okay.
Naomi Campbell's there, Alicia Keys was performing for free. And I'm like, I'm just this kid from Calgary who brought 2 suitcases to London, not even expecting myself to go to London Fashion Week. But then I had so many professionals in London be like, darling, you are in fashion. Because I was myself and I dressed in
Yeah.
these outfits and designs that I made and
Yeah.
brought with me to London
Right.
because I was marketing myself without
Right.
even realizing it,
Right.
And
Right.
they were giving me their business cards. They're like, "Oh, I'm doing this photo shoot. Are you a stylist? Here you go." So I was like, if London is telling me that I'm a stylist, then when
Then you're a
London
stylist.
calls, you listen.
Right.
So I went back to Canada, Toronto, where I am right now, and I was still working in marketing, but I'm like, this feels like it's just what I meant to do. now I have the external validation from these
Right.
professionals. Because
Right.
before then, I didn't really have that. I knew a lot of people in fashion in Toronto and Canada, but it wasn't until I went to London that it started to manifest.
Yeah,
And I,
sometimes you need to have that external validation to really give you that little push to
yeah,
say, okay, maybe I always thought there was something here, or I always really wanted this, but now I'm
yeah.
having other people tell me
See
that
it
it's
in
good.
me.
See
It's
me.
kind of like I don't know if you've seen Clueless where Cher is like, I love Josh. It's kind of like that
Right.
moment where it's like,
Right.
duh, like everyone has been saying this my entire life,
Yeah.
but I needed to have other people tell me
Yes.
that. So I started to elevate my looks that I was doing, posting on them on social media. And then I thought to myself, I've been doing, marketing and paid ad strategies with these small businesses for the past 5 years, seeing little miracles here and there. Why don't I try to apply those strategies to my own social media and my own fashion posts, especially the posts that are getting the most engagement?
Right.
So I started to put $20 to $30 in paid ads on Instagram. Just, a little money here and there, like a little
Right.
bonus, whatever.
Right.
But I would target my audience to European fashion capitals.
Okay.
London, Paris, Berlin, Milan. And I did that for 4 months. And I would get interest. I would get some fashion professionals being like, oh, what's this? And they
Right.
would follow me and we would connect and stuff.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until June, June 23rd, that a Berlin designer slides into my DMs and goes, Val, you look so cool. And I'm like, thanks. You have amazing shoes. I love your leg accessories. They're Vivian Sophie, they're leg accessories, so they're like leg warmers. You
Oh,
can
yeah, yeah.
customize them as shoes. And I'm like, wow, this is
Nice.
really innovative and
Right.
cool. She's a 28-year-old, kind of like me, came from a business background, but then transitioned into fashion. And she's like, are you going to be in Paris October 1st? And I'm like, no, I would love to. I was just in London and Paris, and it was really inspirational.
Right.
And she sent me a voice memo, and she was like, Val, if you find yourself in Paris, I would love for you to model for me. You have a great energy, and I love your style. And maybe you can also style the show because you just have such great artistry. And I'm like, at first I thought it was fake
Right. Right. Of course.
because you get all these like be a brand promoter on
Right.
Instagram.
Right.
And you're
Right.
like,
Right.
oh
Right.
my. But then we had a Zoom recording, we had a Zoom meeting together, and it was just like from that moment on, the ink was dried, and I was
Yeah.
on my way to Paris.
That is so amazing, right? Just putting a little bit of extra cash or a few dollars, $20, $40, whatever it was, and actually like paying attention to where you were targeting,
Yes.
right? Which is important. Don't just throw it out there, right? And just do rando stuff because that's just not going to work. But actually paying
Yes.
attention got you a
Got me the gig of my life.
yeah, yeah,
Like everyone in fashion, like the four major fashion capitals are New York, London, Milan, and Paris. And Tokyo is also important. But Paris is kind of like the Grand Dame. It's
yeah,
like everyone's trying to get there. It's
yeah,
like the where the legends go, you know?
yep,
And I was like this kid from here going to here. But because I'm Canadian, all I listen to is Drake, obviously. So I got
obviously.
to start from the bottom to now to the top.
Yeah. Wow, it just like took the express elevator up real fast.
And I had 1 summer to do it
That's
while working a full-time job in corporate.
yeah, that's
Thank God for Vyvanse, prescribed Vyvanse.
yes. I mean that's amazing, Joshua, that you've had these moments and now you're bringing not only your fashion expertise and artistry to, you know, audiences and growing that and expanding that, but you're doing it in really smart ways by using social media to establish, you know, your brand, who you are and what you're about, which is so important for us to do as artists, right? Like,
Yeah,
and we have to be more smart about how we do. We can't just be like posting
yeah,
our images up there and just letting them sit, but we have to really think about, you
mhm.
know, the why, the who we're targeting it to. Do you have any thoughts about why that's important, and how people who are just starting, who are maybe where you were earlier this year, right?
Just
Like,
doing it for fun.
yeah, doing it for fun, but it's your passion. It's,
Yeah.
it's your life's calling,
Hmm.
right? This is, it's been a part of your life since you were a little kid in one way or another, but now you're trying to actually do something with it,
Yeah.
right? But maybe you were averse. I mean, you come from a marketing background, but let's just
Yeah.
like pretend that you were adverse to promotion and
Mhm. Well,
marketing.
I was averse to even calling myself a stylist or designer or model, even this time last year. When I went to London, I'm like, oh, I'm not in fashion. And they're like, you're in fashion. And that's actually the thing. I feel like, especially artists, we have, this kind of stigma with declaring ourselves and our worth to the
A good
world.
point. That's so
you
true.
know and that's what marketing is. All you're doing is saying this piece of art has value enough for someone to use it to better their life, and it has value no matter what, but
Right.
it's just you declaring it to the world.
Yeah. That's a
And when
major mindset shift,
it
right?
is, and when you do it, people tend to listen. I've
Mhm.
actually been very surprised, and I've even like taken up, the advice of don't be afraid to state what your rate of pay is, and then be quiet after,
And
and
then
then
be quiet.
let them respond,
Yeah.
you know?
That is something that I learned, that I had to learn early on, right? Because I tend to be like a people pleaser kind of
Yeah,
person at base, right? And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I have somebody who's interested in my stuff,
yeah,
and I really want to like get like let them have it, like sell it
of
to them,
course.
whatever, because that's just awesome. But and so like this is the price I want for it. So I'm gonna like first of all have to get over the fact that that's the price I want, because is it worth that to begin with?
Mhm.
But then I have to get over that moment where there's that space between me saying the price and them responding. And if
Mhm.
that space is like too long for me, which at the time was like almost non-existent,
Yeah.
the silence, I just learned to stop myself from saying, or you know what, I could like reduce it a little bit
Yes,
for you, or like I
exactly.
can, that was a really hard thing for me in all of the areas of the service business that I'm in, whether it's like selling coaching, or selling
Mhm.
therapy, um, or selling my work, right?
Yeah.
It was a huge thing for me.
I think especially because, I feel like in North America, we have this kind of mindset that in the arts, you have to do it for free for so long before you can get
The
enough accolades, the
exposure, yeah.
exposure. And that is important, like, especially with Paris. I was kind of an investor in this show as well because I knew that it would do wonders for my career. Like I've been in Vogue, Elle, Glamour, Fashion Week Online, Paris Fashion Week itself. Like I've been featured in all these magazines in Europe
Yeah,
and met so many people because of that.
yeah.
But now I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, my work has value and experience. I'm still taking in, not being like, oh, I won't get out of bed for less than $10,000, and from
Right.
another Canadian fashion icon who I love. But I'm like, this is my value.
Yeah.
I had a goal
Know
to
it.
get my
You know the
client.
value.
When Vivian scouted me, I said, I will get you into Vogue. And we're in Vogue.
Uh,
So
so all of those spots came from those experiences you've had this year of Paris and London, those spots in the
yeah,
magazines. Wow.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, this is an important point too. We can't write off the like the free stuff that we do, right?
yeah.
Like we can't write
I
that off
still take free
entirely.
projects if I feel like there's, again, a marketing term, return on investment.
Exactly. What is the
Like I can
ROI on
actually,
this going to be? Right.
yes. And what is it going to do for your future self? Like, I recently got laid off from my corporate job during a mass layoff. And it sucks, but at the same time, the reason why I put so much work into Paris was for this moment. And now I'm starting to pick up clients at a
Right.
freelance rate. And when, like this morning, I was speaking with a designer who was saying, like, I'm tired of being told that I'm talented, but then I don't have like the commerce to back that up, you know? And I'm like, the issue is, and this is where I see a lot of times with artists and designers, you're getting a lot of awareness, which is great. You're doing these fashion shows, keep doing it, getting into Vogue, increasing social media, but then you need to funnel it down and you need to make that clear with your audience. A lot of artists I find don't make that conversion stage clear enough.
Can
When
you
do you
just
actually buy? Yeah,
can you just back up, because some people might not be aware of some of the terminology, even though it's
sure.
like basic
Yeah, no,
stuff to us, right?
yeah,
So when you say like they're getting the awareness, right? They're growing their social, people are
yeah.
seeing them, but then they don't funnel it down. Can you help explain like what you mean by funneling it down so that they can start making sales?
Sure, yeah. So they're called marketing funnels, and it's strategies and frameworks I like to use when I'm making marketing campaigns for various clients, obviously with tweaks depending on the type of artist and business they are. You start with the awareness, which is the top level, and that is getting, people's eyeballs onto your product and
Right.
your service. It's getting, that exposure that we need as artists. And it's important, it's why I tell designers, do fashion shows. It puts you above other designers too in an oversaturated market, or do galleries or do all these things. But then start to find the people that have the awareness but are showing interest, and then start to offer them something even more personalized,
Yeah.
like for clients I offer a free consultation where we discuss their marketing needs
Yep.
before I even send them an invoice,
Right.
just because I need to make sure that I can also provide value for them,
Sure.
and I understand what they're looking for both in styling, marketing, modeling, whatever.
Right. But at the
And
same time, you're
then
building a relationship with them, right?
building a relationship with them that can then turn into a conversion.
Right.
And that's when you get the moolah.
Right. And by conversion, you mean that's the sale, or that's
Uh,
the client acquisition, that you can then start charging them, right? They've converted to a
yes,
client, they've converted to a collector.
yes.
But it doesn't stop there, right? We have to continue to
Loyalty.
nurture them, right? And keep them warm and keep, letting them know what you're doing, what you're about, so that they continue to come back to you, right?
Yeah. And with marketing, the results are not always instant. There are like KPIs that key performance indicators,
Yep.
things like likes and followers. Those are things that you can track on a short-term basis. But the paid ad campaign that I did on my own social media, that lasted for 4 months, of me just putting like $20 here and there on my
Right.
page and configuring the audience I was targeting. It wasn't just like, okay, Europe, like it was actually fashion professionals and the types of fashion professionals and their interests to see what was generating more engagement. Not
Yeah.
even, I had no idea that it would lead to Paris, but I
Right.
just knew it could lead to something. And
Right.
that's what marketing can do. It can lead to someone reading your blog post or seeing your art somewhere and down the line going, I really want that.
Right.
So,
Right. It's not necessary. It's very rare, at least in my experience, that the first time someone lays eyes on a piece of work or reads something that you
mhm,
wrote or listens to something that you also wrote, composed, put together, or
yeah,
whatever, that they're going to become like a rabid fan and buy it. And
yeah.
it takes repetition, right? It
It's
takes
repetition.
repetition, um to really become that like noodle noodle in their head, or whatever,
Mhm.
that little thing in their head that
Yeah,
says, oh, I remember that person, I remember them, I
yeah.
remember him, I remember her. And I want to go back and see what they're about, and there's
Mhm.
that piece again that I really connected with before, and I want to learn more about that. And
Yeah,
then they go away, maybe again they don't buy it, but then they come back again. They're
yeah,
like, there it is again. Now maybe I will make this purchase because I want
yeah.
to live with this.
Yeah, or they'll see other people and they'll see their experience with it, and that could also inspire them to purchase or to buy in.
Yeah.
And that's also like, because before Paris, I didn't really have a lot of professional fashion experience besides just being self-taught, and a lot of people were like, oh, sorry, you don't have experience, especially like Toronto. We have really talented fashion professionals here, but we don't
Right.
have a lot. It's not a fashion capital. It's not like
Right.
London, New York, Paris, Milan.
Right.
And so the jobs are a bit more scarce here,
Yep.
and it can be more competitive, actually, I find. Like when I walk down the street in Paris and London, that's just who I am as a person. I don't know why, but they stop me. Like this in Paris, I was walking down in October wearing these big glasses. I just got off a red eye. I was like totally zoned out. I was like, "Parlez-vous français?" Like,
Right.
and
Right.
this guy was like, "Oh, you got this Yves Saint Laurent vibe to you," and I'm like, "Okay, this is from ASOS, but thank you, like, merci beaucoup." And we started talking, and he turned out to be a designer in Paris, and we exchanged cards. But that's just what happens, like in these cities that are so focused on the arts.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
needed to go there, and I'm still planning on, working in London, Paris, Milan, New York. That's
Yeah.
that's not going away.
Right.
It's just now that I'm finding it's helping my experience in Toronto more.
100%. I think that's another important point is you have to put yourself into the environments that that you ultimately want to be in, right? Like you're not going to just randomly, without doing anything, like get siphoned off and plop down somewhere. You have to do some things to get there. I mean, even you, it was a surprise to you that, this person, reached out to you and invited you to Paris, right? And then,
Mhm,
it grew from there. You still did stuff to get there. You attracted that person
mhm,
through your marketing efforts.
mhm.
You just didn't get teleported there. And I think
No.
as artists, sometimes we wait around because we're nervous to put ourselves out there, to call
Mhm.
ourselves the artist or to believe in our work. We're nervous to put ourselves in those places, and we wait for them to come to us, or we believe that they'll eventually come to us, and that's not the case.
Yeah. Yeah. When did you come out as an artist? I always say it's like coming out.
When did is that a question for me? When did I come
Yeah,
out as
yeah,
an artist?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was always like something that was really tough for me to say as well. So when you're saying, when you're also bringing that point up, that one of the major shifts that needs to happen is for you to be okay saying you're an artist or a
Mhm,
designer. um I resonate with that a lot because I struggled all the way up until probably 10 years ago, and
yeah.
I've been making art professionally for close to 20,
Mhm,
um to say that I'm an artist. And that's what I run into like over and over again, with the clients that I work with, who are like, man, like, am I an artist? That feels
mhm.
really weird to say.
Yeah.
I am I someone who is doing work that is at the caliber,
And it's such a subjective term, and it can feel kind of gatekeepy at
gatekeepy?
times.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion of it, we all have different opinions. It's someone who is dedicated to a craft and brings it out into the world and has a unique vision. It doesn't mean that it's never been done before. What I always say when I'm styling or designing, every idea has been done before,
Right,
but it's how do you take that idea and make it your own?
right, right.
That's my definition of,
Yeah, how are you going to communicate your voice, your story, your message
yeah.
through that channel, whatever it is?
Because that's what one post did it. That's what got me Paris. It was, I can even send it to you. It was a high fashion scuba diver look that I did that was kind of gender fuckery for
Nice.
this pride party in an aquarium in June in Toronto. And it was like, I'm not here to cause a splash. I'm not here to, blah, blah. I'm here to make waves. And it was just like me being myself because I like taking, like, for design, really rudimentary topics, like kind of mosquito-esque, like kind of camp, like a
Uh-huh,
lamp or
uh-huh,
whatever.
uh-huh.
And
Right.
like when like, how do I make this high fashion? So I took the scuba because I haven't really seen a scuba version of high fashion before,
Uh-huh.
and I made my version of it, and that's what got me Paris.
That's awesome.
She was
That's
like, I
so
need this. She's like, I need this. You need to swim over.
to swim over. I love that. And I like that I'm not here just to make a splash. I'm here to make waves.
Yeah.
That's yeah, not to then be afraid to go big, right?
Yeah.
Incremental is okay. Slow growth is okay, I guess, right? But to limit yourself is doing yourself a disservice, right?
Yeah.
Like when you can make a big splash, a big wave, why are you going to limit yourself to just, making little concentric circles in the pool with your toe,
Exactly. You
right?
know, you
Got
can
to do
start with
something.
that. You can start with
Right.
that. It's a good start. But with that post, I was just like, I don't know what this is going to lead to. But if it leads to a wave, I'll take it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it did.
Yeah. So social media has been really good to you this year of 2023, right?
Yes and no. There's always like, again, social media, it's kind of like, it's good, it's great, but it's still gatekeepy, especially
Yeah.
with like, I understand when people complain about the algorithm.
Yeah.
I got into Instagram much later than a lot of people because I had no idea I was even in fashion.
Right.
And hashtags just did not work anymore. The reach is completely gone on Instagram. And even though that sounds like shallow, followers are so like if you want to be an influencer even for some fashion parties they look at followers and that's frustrating. It's
Right.
frustrating about it.
Right. Having those, yeah. Yeah, the vanity follower thing is still true, right? Like the number for some reason is just so like important for people, or it somehow like communicates that you're valid, but it really has nothing to do with the validity of what you're making, what you're putting out there, who you are.
I'm gonna get so many followers down the line, I'm sure, like
Right.
more followers than I can even imagine because gonna keep doing gigs like Paris Fashion Week over and over again.
Right.
I just am because I love doing it.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, when we were also scouting, influencers and models for the show, me and Vivian, we weren't just looking at followers, we were looking at engagement. And
Exactly.
the engagement between the amount of followers I have is the same, the percentage engagement as someone who has 200,000 followers.
Mhm.
So don't just look at following, it's important, but also look at engagement because there are a lot of people that can just buy
Right.
bots.
Right. Have you found ways that, or have you noticed anything in particular about how your engagement has increased? Like, are there things that you're doing that you're noticing are better for attracting and creating engagement, versus other things that you do or put out there that doesn't resonate? Like, what are some maybe tips that you can offer some people about what you've noticed in terms of growing engagement versus just followers?
I'm always learning. I'm always trying to tweak what I'm doing, like A/B testing. It's what
Yeah, it's huge,
another
right?
marketing term,
Yeah.
but it's like I am applying that to my own social media, and just like I also don't just do digital marketing. I rely on PR. Like I work with journalists, and I say this to businesses too. Don't just rely on digital marketing. Blend that in with PR as well. Like good old press can also expand your reach.
Mm-hmm. Now,
Um,
are you doing paid press, paid PR, or are you doing organic,
earned.
earned? Good,
I've only been featured in earned
good.
media,
That's
which has
huge.
been
Yeah. So guys, when you're hearing this, earned versus paid, right? Paid is what it sounds like. You're paying for
mhm.
that article, you're paying for that feature. Uh,
Nothing's wrong with that if you have the budget for it and if you have the strategy. It's just I didn't and I think that there are some stories that are newsworthy. Like there's a
right,
reason why you asked me for the podcast.
right.
And like this isn't going to be my biggest it's big. I love it, but like I have a big life ahead of me. But at
Yeah,
the same time, when I got back from Paris, and this is what I told Vivian too, the show doesn't end
right.
after Paris. The show is just
Just
starting.
starting.
Yes, and that's been very true.
Right. I think you can't just like rest on your laurels, right?
Yes, I'd love
Like
to.
that is like such like a great opportunity to propel you, right? A lot of
Yeah,
people might say, "Well, I finally made it and now I can
I
kind of."
did it. I accomplished my live stream. That's it.
Right. And
Got
then
it.
and then it all stops.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of embracing the process and the slow kind of intentional, like march towards greatness that
Mhm.
that all of us really, whoever, like, you can be great in whatever area of life you are living and wanting to be great in, but it's a process. It
Yeah.
takes intentionality. It takes trying and falling down and getting back up, right, and learning from that, testing different things.
Yeah.
um that is super important.
It hasn't like people are my friends and stuff, or people even on the street in Toronto who've been following this,
Yep.
especially the gay community. They're like, "Oh my God, that was amazing! I love watching that. It's slayed, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And they're like, your dreams came true." And I'm like, "They did, but there's still work to do."
Mhm.
Now I'm just transitioning into being an artist who's making this my full-time job. It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's still not easy.
Yeah.
And I'm also looking to like continue this trajectory where I'm working around the world because I love it. And
Mhm.
I want to make my stake in fashion. And also there is things with the fashion industry itself that I want to change. And I won't be satisfied until I can at least say that I tried to change it.
Yeah, what are some of those things that you really want to see changed in the industry?
Oh, I want to be an enemy of nepotism. There's so much nepotism, and I know it's never going to go away. And not
Right.
every nepo baby is bad.
Right.
But at the same time, I am completely self-made. I came from a single mother. We at times slept in women's shelters.
Yeah.
We had to we had to really fight for our lives, and I still do. And I just think that with fashion itself, I don't always see that success story, especially now on social media. And I want to get back to that, that root of it. My
Mhm.
heroes in fashion, like McQueen, Galliano, Westwood, they're self-made.
Right.
They did it on their own. And as a stylist, I feel like being a stylist is also kind of a loaded word where people don't really understand what we do.
Yeah.
We put together outfits, but we're also working between designers and clients, so like influencers, models, or TV shows, and we're making connections, which I love. It kind of is, I'm using my marketing communication skills to coordinate that together. So I've been scouting designers and being like, hey, I have a client who might go to the Juno Awards. I think she would love to wear your gown. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yes, I think that it would be a great opportunity for both you and the client, and it will get you further press and opportunity.
Yeah.
So that's what I love to do, is I love to give opportunities to up and coming designers to get that publicity, and
Yeah.
then it becomes a mutual support.
Yep.
Also, for men's fashion, we like to throw around the term gender neutral, which I think is kind of loaded, because clothing might be gender neutral, but it's never really sex neutral. There's
Good
always
point.
pattern making is always geared towards a certain female or male. And
Yeah.
so for me, when I'm trying to find clothes that are fun and match my personality, but also fit my, I work out,
Yeah.
I like having that kind of V-shaped body, it's hard to find that. And that's I'm like, these gender neutral, that's kind of full of shit.
Right.
That's when I design clothes, those are the clothes I want to design. Anyone can wear them, but it's for men like me.
Hmm.
I call
Hmm.
myself a dandy.
A dandy. I
A
love it.
dandy. Yeah.
And yeah, so you're trying to break down some of these um like tropes or things that have been perpetuated, like the gender neutral term, and really creating for actual people who want to wear things that are just what they like and not necessarily
Yes. And
what
fitted towards
and
them.
fitted towards them.
It's not gender neutral, it's gender expansive.
Expansive. Yeah,
It's
much
saying,
better
okay,
word.
let's get seats that fit your body at the table,
Right.
That's what
Yeah,
it is. And
such a
there's
better.
especially with gay, queer, bi men, um they've just been really supportive with my work, and I can see a huge market for that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a big deal, right? I love the term gender expansive. Think that that just captures so much more of what those those of us who are working with people in the, gender expansive communities,
Yeah.
are really trying to say, right? And
Yeah.
that gender neutral term is also kind of like another gatekeepy kind of situation, right? That's going on.
And if you feel empowered by gender neutral, all power to you.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
like that clothing, no problem with it. It's just I find that it doesn't include, it's not as inclusive
yeah,
as it makes itself to
yeah,
be.
yeah. And then going back a couple minutes ago, your the importance that you put on building or making connections and helping folks get opportunities. And
Mhm.
I noticed, when you were just revealing a little bit more of your personal story there, growing up with a single mom and everything, and your experiences of having to live at times in shelters. I just noticed that there was some like emotion being tugged at. And I think that breaking down some of these barriers of just like the same old people getting the same things over and over again because they supposedly deserve it. Some of them, I guess some of them do work hard, or a lot of them do work hard and
Yeah,
all of
of
that kind of
course.
stuff, right? But
It's
like,
equity.
but everybody, like, there's talent everywhere, there's greatness
Yeah.
everywhere, and it doesn't matter where
That's
you
that's
come.
why I wore for my last look, I wore this Ratatouille inspired chef look. It's
Nice.
like taking inspiration from Chanel.
Uh-huh.
That's I
Okay.
wanted to make a black chef look, made the hat,
Oh, I
use
love
this designer called Queen Maria from Bulgaria. And the quote is like, not everyone could be a great artist, but a great artist could come from anywhere. So I love that quote.
I love no, it's a
Yeah.
really powerful quote, and it's so
And
true.
Ratatouille is a fucking good movie.
Yeah,
Everyone,
everyone needs to
and the
watch it.
French like it. If the French like that, then
Then
I'm
it
gonna
must be
promote it.
good.
Yes, because they don't like anything. The French don't like anything. So
I know. So when they endorse something, it's legit, right?
yeah.
So Joshua, can you, as we start to wrap up here, can you give some information about where people can find you if they want to learn more about you, what you have going on, what kind of offers you have for anyone who might be listening who either wants to learn more about fashion or marketing? Um, and I'll be sure to include all that information in the notes of the show too.
Yeah, definitely. So you can check out my website, pasqualefashion.com. I have a contact form set up and ready, and I also detail my services. And I offer a free 30-minute consultation to just go over both the styling or marketing strategies that your brand needs. I've really found like a niche that I'm passionate about where I can mix fashion and marketing together, and it's so untapped. A
Yeah.
lot of designers need this.
Yeah.
And then my Instagram is Joshua G Pasquale, just that. And then I think that's like, yeah, the main two. You can
The
find me
main
on
two.
Threads
Awesome.
somewhere.
Yeah. Reds is there.
I don't even know my username. I think it's the same as my Instagram.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I'll make sure everything is linked in there so they can easily everyone can just click on it and find you and reach out to you. Joshua, this has been a really great conversation for me. You've taught me some things about
Okay.
fashion, like, and also marketing, and reiterated some things for me. And I'm sure that everybody has gotten so much out of hearing you today. And I really thank you so much for your time.
Of course, and let's collaborate soon. Let's
Yeah.
get like your work in a fashion show.
That
That'd
would
be
be
fun.
amazing. That's
Yeah, let's do
this is
it.
gonna be we'll have a conversation offline on that one. I really
Absolutely.
excited. So everybody, this has been the Bold Creatives Collective podcast. I'm so happy that you listened and joined Joshua and me for this conversation. And I look forward to hanging out with everybody again soon. I'll see you.
Awesome.